Okay, so here's my story of how God intervened in a business effort, and in this case, He didn't bless it; He stopped it. So sometimes He does that. So here's the story. We had for years uh, been wanting to do a winery, and finally came to create and run a winery, and it came to I'm a home winemaker. That's the backstory. So anyway, it came time to do that, and my wife and I had been thinking about this for years. We decided it's time to do it. So we raised money. We had a number of investors. We raised the money. We didn't have it promised. We had it in the bank. We had the bank account. We had the business plan. We had, a very thorough business plan. I knew exactly what we were going to make, exactly what it would cost us, exactly what we could sell them for. I knew exactly where we were going to get the supplies, what equipment we were going to use. I mean, the whole thing was done. We had a logo, commissioned a logo. We had a logo for the business. We had a tagline. All we needed was a location, and then everything would just, would flip the switch. Bam, just like that, we could be in business. We had a plan for shortening the initial cycle, the whole thing. I mean, we were ready to go. All we needed was a location, and so we found a great location. We thought, negotiated with the guy. Um, and the night before, we were supposed to finalize the agreement. He called and said he's been talking to one of his advisors, who I'm assuming was a lawyer, and because they knew we were a Christian organization, because of that, he decided to ask for 6 months rent in advance. And I thought, well, that's a deal. That's a deal breaker. That's a deal breaker. So we just walked away from that. Uh, so that was the first one. Then we found another one, looked okay, was a little bigger than what we needed. We made an offer, and it just wasn't right, and we knew it wasn't right, or they weren't gonna come down to what we could afford. And it just wasn't right. So that was okay. That one just kind of went by the wayside. Then we came to the third one, which was ideal in a lot of ways. I mean, it was about a mile and a half from our house in Sarasota. It was directly across the street from Siesta Key Rum, where they make the best rum made in America, voted that 3 years in a row, and they have a tasting room that's constantly busy. That was directly across the street, right there on the other side of the street from where we were. And we made them an offer, and this is the weirdest thing. They never replied. I mean, weeks went by. Our realtors calling them, calling them, calling. Finally, after 6 weeks, we just walked away and said, we don't know. They they just never responded. They didn't say yes, they didn't say no, they didn't say maybe, they just never responded. That was number three. Number four, so I'm going back and forth from Michigan, flying down to Florida during the summer and all that kind of thing, looking at places. So we found the fourth one, which again looked perfect. Like, oh man, this is the one that the Lord's been saving for us. It was an older building right on the outskirts of Bradenton, on the main route going into downtown Bradenton, and it's a very the area, the block is being invested in. They're building 400 apartments right behind it, and so on. I mean, it's just everything looked good. It was an older building that a developer had bought, and he had his plans, what he was going to do to upgrade it, and so on. And so we made him an offer, just about what he was expecting, or what he was asking. And he came back and said, well, and he doubled his price. Yeah, like what? Doubled it. Like, how does any of this make sense? Okay, and at this point, our realtor said to us, I've had more hassle working with you two guys on this project than I have had the rest of my career combined. But we're not done yet. So we have one more. And so, we found, this was like in February now, we found a location in downtown Bradenton, and it was a little small, but it would work. And it was in the block that they used to, before COVID, they blocked it off on Friday nights, and they had bands come in, stuff like that, and had a street party every Friday night. That's what they do. And it was in that block. And just as we were about to make an offer, the whole COVID thing hit. We said, yeah, let's just see what happens here before we make an offer. And clearly we didn't. Clearly we decided the Lord doesn't want us in this business. He just kept putting one thing or another in our way. And finally we said, it's not for us. The Lord has said no. And so we sent everybody's money back, and said, we're just not going to do this. And when we look at it today, so this is September, and we look at it, we think, wow, we really dodged a bullet, because if we had signed a contract, signed a lease in February, can you imagine where we'd be today, Because we still couldn't be open, and we'd be paying rent on that building, and so in this case, Colleen and I are both convinced that the Lord stopped us by intervening with all these weird kind of offers on space. And that's my God thing today.